2 words on a gravestone changed how I see everything. Don't try. That's what Charles Bukowski, one of the most brutally honest writers who ever lived, chose as his final message to the world. Not work harder, not believe in yourself. Don't try. And if that sounds like the advice of a quitter, you haven't been paying attention. You know that feeling when you're pushing so hard towards something, and the harder you push, the further it gets? That's not a motivation problem. That's not a discipline problem. That's a frequency problem. Here's what nobody tells you. The most successful people you admire aren't trying harder than you. They've just stopped fighting themselves. And that distinction, that tiny invisible shift, is the difference between a life that flows and a life that exhausts. Think about your favorite color. You didn't decide it. You didn't set a goal for it. You didn't wake up and grind toward it. It just was. That's what genuine desire feels like. Effortless, certain, yours. But somewhere along the way, someone told you that if you just want something badly enough, if you try hard enough, you can force yourself into passion, into purpose, into a life that finally feels right. And so you started using words like, I have to, I must, I can't fail. Those aren't motivation. Those are warning signs. Because when you have to try to care about your goal, when every morning feels like dragging yourself towards something, the truth is uncomfortable but necessary. You probably don't want that goal. You want what you think it will give you. The approval, the status, the moment someone finally looks at you and says, enough. That's what Bukowski called chasing it for the wrong reasons. And when you build your happiness on something the world controls, a promotion, a number, someone else's opinion, you hand over the keys to your own peace. The world doesn't give you the result. Your motivation evaporates, and you're left believing that you are the failure. But here's what nobody tells you about Stoic philosophy. It doesn't ask you to try harder, it asks you to look differently. There are only 2 domains in life, what you can control and what you can't. That's it. The entire operating manual for a human life in one sentence. When you obsess over outcomes, the grade, the deal, the way they looked at you, you live entirely in the domain you cannot control. But when you redirect your focus inward to why you're doing this, to who you're becoming in the process, something shifts. You stop fighting the habit. You start living the identity. And identity doesn't require willpower. It just is. Bukowski worked at a post office for decades. He wrote almost every single day, not because he was trying to become famous, not because he was grinding toward a brand, but because he was a writer. That's what writers do. They write. He wasn't trying to be something he wasn't. He was just attending to what he already was. Here's the one idea that will reframe your entire relationship with effort. Trying is often the problem, not the solution. The moment you stop forcing and start flowing, the moment your effort becomes expression instead of performance, everything changes. Stay with me. There's a concept I call the Locus rule. The moment you realize your effort is the only thing you truly own, not the result, not the recognition, not the timeline, you get free. Genuinely free. Imagine your entire life as a tiny rock floating in an infinite, silent universe. On that scale, is the job interview as terrifying? Is the rejection as permanent? Is the failure as defining? No. What you're left with is something almost absurd in its simplicity. The only real mistake you can make is to never stop, never breathe, never look up at the hilarious, improbable, beautiful absurdity of being alive at all. And this is where the real shift happens. You stop looking for happiness at the finish line. You start finding it in the focus. Not later, not once you've earned it. Now, in this moment, in the task itself. Marcus Aurelius, emperor, philosopher, a man who had every reason to chase more, wrote that almost nothing material is needed for a happy life once you understand your own existence. He didn't try to be happy. He chose to see clearly. That's the whole game. So the next time you're lying awake feeling like you're not trying hard enough, pause. Ask yourself one question. Am I trying to become something I'm not, or am I just afraid to be what I already am? Because straining toward a version of yourself that doesn't fit, that's not ambition, that's avoidance. Stop chasing the result. Start trusting the process. Start trusting yourself. Because when you stop forcing the universe to move, you finally give yourself the space to move with it. And that is the most powerful thing Bukowski ever wrote. Not in his poems, on a gravestone. Don't try.